All right. Well, good morning, St. John's. It's good to be with each of you who are here, and we'll have people gather as they are able, and recording this so that you can get a snapshot of what our financial picture looks like as you're able to. As we begin, let us pray. Almighty and ever-living God, ruler of all things in heaven and earth, hear our prayers for this parish family. Strengthen the faithful, arouse the careless, and restore the penitent. Grant us all things necessary for our common life, and bring us all to be of one heart and mind within your holy church, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
So I am pleased to be able to say that Joel Smith is the parish treasurer. Joel has been in this role. Let's see, I've been back for 17 months, Joel. So you've been in this serving St. John's in this capacity for nearly that long, right?
I was the assistant treasurer learning the ropes under Glenn all of 2019, right. And then effective January 1st became the treasurer.
Absolutely, in a really strange time.
That's right.
To be involved in so many things, especially church finances. So Joel and Meryl Smith are members here at St. John's. Joel, you're from Columbia originally.
Columbia, South Carolina. That's right.
Yes, sir. And came to Memphis and for college, and I guess the city grabbed you, and Merrill grabbed you, and
that's
you've
right.
been here pretty much ever since, correct?
Yeah, moved away for about 5 years, but been here for well over half my life.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So. Joel and Merrill have two kids who are wonderful, and you'll see them around. Alex is the kid that's just about as tall as I am. His long leg kid. Good people. So Joel, I'll say it publicly. I probably don't say it enough. I'm really grateful for your efforts here and your leadership at St. John's. It's been a nice, for things to be as strange as they are, to be able to sit down with Joel and manage all these numbers has been a real gift to me and to this parish. So, Joel, take it away, man.
Sure. Thanks, Jay. Appreciate those words. I'm going to share my screen, and I've never done this, so I'm hoping this is going to work. Let's see.
But it will.
Share.
There it is.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So let me see. That's not the one. How do I get this thing? There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Hopefully everybody can see this spreadsheet I've got on my screen. Mm-hmm. The main role that I serve as treasurer is to work with Penny, who is our controller, CFO, and managing the financials and presenting them to the Finance and Admin Committee, which reviews them, asks questions, and then we, assuming there's no issues, turn around and present them to the vestry. The other big thing that we work on is the budget, which we're currently working on right now for 2021. So what Jay and Miranda have asked me to do is to give you guys a high-level overview of the financials. So I'll kind of give my same presentation that I do to the vestry, and then if there's any questions or comments, happy to respond. This spreadsheet's fairly busy. If you look on the far left, this is for the September vestry financials for 2020. So year-to-date September, it's got the numbers in here. On the far left, it's got our annual budget for 2020. So I've highlighted that to the left. About halfway down the screen, you'll see our budget, which is $1,523,000. And then that's the amount of money we hope to bring in. And down at the bottom, right here, is the expenses. So $1,518,000. You'll notice that the two are very close. So we're hoping that we'll bring in just about $5,000 or $4,793 more than we spend. Talking a little bit about where the money comes from, the majority of it comes from our pledges. So we at I guess last year about this time started sending in our pledge cards. And when you total all those up for the year 2020, it comes to $1,154,000. There's one item that's not highlighted here that I'll point out, which is not pledge giving. So we have a handful of parishioners that give a significant amount but do not pledge. So in a normal year, you can add those two up. There's some miscellaneous receipts that we have that come up with the total 1.5 million. This year's a little bit different in that we had the pandemic, or I should say very different. But from a financial standpoint, most of you have probably heard the term of the SBA PPP loan. St. John's was fortunate enough to apply and receive that. And for St. John's, it came out to $175,000. We've received those funds. We are in the process of applying for forgiveness. So we anticipate being able to add this $175,000 to the 2020 budget and having it forgiven. And so there's no sort of repayment or expense associated with that. Moving down to the expenses, the $1,518,000. I'll just kind of start from the top and work my way down with the large numbers. We spend about $170,000 on admin expenses. That's printing and paper and all the office supplies and the general needs that Jay Miranda and the rest of the staff have to run the church on a daily basis. $200,000 on grounds maintenance and utilities. We have a beautiful church, and it's old and has a lot of needs. Children's and adult ministries, we have a very, very small budget. I'll point out there, we balance this budget every year. We stick to what we know we can bring in. This is one area where I think going forward, if we could increase our pledges, we would increase our budget there. The diocesan pledge and alms, it's roughly 10% of the amount of money that we bring in. We pay to the dioceses. Personnel expenses, the $799. This is the payroll and healthcare and insurance and everything that goes into paying our folks to run the church. And then worship expenses, just exactly what it sounds like. Youth programs, music, and Parish Life Center. And so that's the gym right next to the church. That comes out to a total of $1,518,000. Assuming we bring in the $1,523,000 and spend the $1,518,000, we will balance our budget for the year. Moving over to the middle of the screen, we've got our budget year to date and then our actual year to date. So through September of 2020, we've budgeted to bring in $764,000. We've actually brought in $903,000. We've been very, very fortunate this year that our parishioners, as you can see up here, have given more than they have pledged to date. I'll let Jay kind of speak to that later, but I think if you look around at other congregations, we're an exception given the pandemic. But a lot of folks have stepped up, given early, realize this is a hard time, and we certainly appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Moving down to the expenses, year to date, we've budgeted $1,131,000. We spent just under that, $1,051,000. And so we are, when you add it all up, we're $219,000 under budget, which means we've got it's not really an extra $219,000, but we are in very good shape year to date. But we do have some upcoming expense needs related to the grounds maintenance and some other items. I'm going to move over to the balance sheet.
As Joel switches over to another part, I'm just gonna scan down and look. If you always know you can use the chat function, of course. And if you have a question at this point before we move in a little different direction, anybody have any questions at this point? The long and the short of it is we are in pretty good shape, thankfully. Okay, I don't. Yeah, I got a question here, Joel. I'm going to unmute Leslie.
Are we looking at this $1,500,000 figure is the amount? I see it says fiscal year beginning 1/1/2020. Are these the same numbers that will be proposed for the 2021 budget, or?
So we are working on the 2021 budget. They will be similar. We'll have some increase in some needs, but historically it's been around the 1.5 million, and we'll increase a little expenses, and then figure out where we can make up that, whether it's cutting expenses somewhere else or trying to grow the givings.
Thank you.
Yeah, we had part of the nature of the conversation we've had, Leslie, as Joel and I have been and Penny Vincent, our financial administrator, and also Antoinette Cheney, our parish administrator. We were thinking through a couple different cuts on the budget, but based on what we're seeing and the support that's in place, we're comfortable moving forward in 2021 with a budget that will look very similar, without austerity measures. In fact, I think one of the most helpful things Joel taught me recently was, hey, look, I don't know why you're taking this negative position. Let's talk about where we are and start moving, even further. So very similar numbers we anticipate for next year, Leslie. Anybody else? Good question. All righty, seeing nobody. Joel, we'll keep going.
So this is our balance sheet. I'm just going to walk through it real quickly and kind of focus on the high level. As far as our cash goes, we have three main accounts. I've got them highlighted there. And when I say three main, I mean three unrestricted cash accounts. So 31,000, 21,000, and 158. And so right now we're in pretty good shape with about $210,000 in unrestricted cash. There's some smaller petty accounts on here. A lot of these are temporarily restricted or have been earmarked for various projects. Down at the bottom right here, it shows we do own the land and building of St. John's. It's been depreciated significantly, but the bulk of our assets is the real estate and the building, to come for a total assets of $4.1 million. So essentially we have cash and we have real estate. Moving down to the liabilities, we have got a handful of loans, which I have highlighted right here. The rental property on Central, that's right, Jay, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, for 159.
Yes.
A loan on the building for just under $1 million, and then a line of credit for $77,000. This fourth liability is the PPP loan. We anticipate 175 of that being forgiven. The extra $83,000 we have not spent. It's been sitting up here in the CD, and so once that's all cleared, that will be paid off. And I should note that there is a chance that we will have more than the 175 forgiven, which is why we haven't paid the difference off.
Correct.
Actually, there's a pretty good chance. That's really it. So we're in good shape, I think. We do have a lean operating budget, but it works, and we appreciate each and every one of you for your pledges every year, and we're excited about the future.
Yeah, I think Joel's. Thank you, Joel. It's I think this is a pretty good snapshot of what we have and where things lie. Any questions? Richard Fryery is also on this call, and Richard's going to talk to us about another part of the life of this place. And before we move up, got a question here. I'm going to unmute. Yep, there you go. Got Margaret Grayson Smith.
Good morning. I heard that the church had made a $1 million loan. What do we use that money for?
Say more. We received $1 million loan. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah. I was trying to listen to Joel.
Yeah, I got it.
And he said on our liabilities, we had a $1 million loan.
Right. Okay, I see.
Yeah, that loan predates me. That's a good question. It's been on the books for a very, very long time. But let me do some digging to figure out exactly. I think years ago that there was some renovations and maintenance to the building. But so, I don't have the details on that.
Okay. Well, are there monthly payments involved?
Yes.
Joel,
yes. Is it an amortized loan? Are we paying it down?
It is. Yes. And yes.
And that and Grayson, my response would be the same. That predates me, and I would have to get the story on where that comes from.
Well, $1 million, that's 1/4 of our assets.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a significant amount of money. I have a question too before we move along, Joel. And I don't know, if it's beyond the purview of your presentation. The assets and depreciation that was it a $6 million depreciation of our building and facilities. Is that about how things go? Is that number high? I mean, help me understand the extent of that depreciation. Is that something that we need to get corrected one day, or is that just how things go in an older building?
No, that's just standard. It's the useful life of real estate is I think you can depreciate over 30 years.
Okay.
And so but basically there's expenses that go into the upkeep and maintenance of buildings. And so while you don't spend money every month on the building, at some point you're going to need to put money back into it. And so from an accounting standpoint, depreciation is just showing an expense for what will ultimately be a capital expenditure, which is money needed for long-term needs.
And the even better news is that because we're a church, there's no recapture when at a later
Correct.
point. So yeah. That's a huge benefit. No recapture.
Yeah.
And the other thing I use the chat function, but just if you were noticing one of the on the support side, one of the numbers that is very low this year is the loose offering, and that is a direct result of us being we were completely, if you remember, we were completely digital from March to June, and then have moved back in a limited capacity. So the loose offering or the plate offering, which happens when people are here, that number is way down because we are not able to run at our full capacity. and we will be in a holding pattern on that for a while. Let's see, and have a question coming in over the chat. The questions from Leslie Dillon. Jay, what is the appraised value of our church property? And I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. That can be something that we will follow up with, Leslie. I know that we have had appraisal before, because we have every year our church insurance representative comes and looks at the property and gives us an assessment. So I can get that. That's a good question. All right. Well, Joel, I appreciate this immensely. It's all very helpful. Look, one of the things that we're trying to do at St. John's is to build a culture of health and transparency, and that is I think a little easier to do when there is much to celebrate. But we're very grateful, Joel, for this overview. Now, moving right along, we have with us Richard Fryery, who is a soon-to-be second-year vestry member. Richard and Elizabeth have been at St. John's now for, gosh, Richard, 5 years. Yeah, 5 years. And Richard is in the Richard is a vestry member and is also the chair of the trustees committee, and is going to talk to us a little bit about some additional assets that we have and kind of flesh out more the financial picture. Richard, thank you for your time this morning, and look forward to what you're going to have to tell us.
Thank you, Father Jay, and thank you all for joining us. I assume you can hear me.
Yes.
Good. So I'm really speaking in my capacity with the trustees of the St. John's investments. And those investments total roughly $2.5 million right now. I think that was the total as of the end of, it was as of about 10 days ago. And we had our quarterly trustees meeting last week. We try to meet quarterly. Occasionally the summer meeting is done either remotely. Of course, everything's been done remotely lately. Or we combine it with one of the other meetings. But we meet with Gerber Taylor, who is our investment advisor. I think many of you know Warren Milner. He's the relationship manager for Gerber Taylor. And spend about an hour discussing the investments, hearing a good bit from Warren, asking him questions. And the investments, again, total about $2.5 million. About 60% of that, or $1.5 million, is an endowment trust that dates, I believe, to the early to mid 1980s. I think it's the Brown Trust. And the purpose of that main investment vehicle, if you will, is to support outreach and also capital items at the church. So half of the distributions from that go to outreach. I think many of you are familiar with the outreach we do in the community, and then the other half to capital items at the church. And the distributions, and this may get a little technical for some, but it's 5% of a trailing 3-year average of the endowment. So 5% of a trailing 3-year average. Penny, who I don't think is with us this morning, really has the institutional knowledge of that. I think I can explain it. She can probably explain it a little bit better, but that's how the money is dispersed, or that's how we come up with the disbursement. The other 40% of the money that Gerber Taylor advises us on of the St. John's investments are split somewhat evenly between the cemetery fund and the future fund. The purpose of the cemetery fund is somewhat obvious. It's to support St. John's Cemetery just down the street from the church. And then the future fund has its origins, I believe, in the capital campaign that was held ahead of the construction of the Parish Life Center. And the purposes of the disbursements are to help pay down debt, and it also supports outreach. Now, at the discretion of the vestry, it can support other things as well, but really debt and outreach are the two main beneficiaries, or debt pay down rather, of the future fund. And I think Father Jay is showing some colorful photos that explain some of this a little bit better. I think right now we're looking at how the investments are allocated, and there's a fairly even distribution of alternative equity and fixed income instruments in the fund. Over the 20 plus years that Gerber Taylor has been our investment advisor, it's my belief that we have maintained the spending power of these dollars, i.e., if you look at the returns that we've gotten over those 20 years, they have covered the distributions, the cost of managing the funds, and also kept up with inflation. And I think the question that Leslie asked a little bit earlier may sort of touch on that as well. And so I just wanted to bring that up. It's my belief that we're maintaining the spending power of these dollars, which I think is important because we certainly have had a history of adding to the campus. I think the Parish Life Center is probably the most recent large example of that. And as we add to and enhance our buildings and grounds, it is important to have endowment dollars that in part support ongoing buildings and grounds. And as we think to the future, important to consider that in any future fundraising campaign.
Thank you, Richard. Yeah, the main thing that I think it's helpful that we hear today is this sort of summation of our endowment and how it's used. I pulled up a couple of different images from the last trustee meeting, and look, I think if you're in the world of finances, this stuff is probably like a second language to you. However, when we're in these meetings, they didn't teach me any of this stuff in seminary, and the trustees are very gracious in sort of talking to me like I'm a child about all of these different allocations and all these sorts of things. But the image that you're looking at now, that is those are the two allocations that you see. One for the cemetery fund with the value, and also the future fund. And as Richard correctly pointed out, the future fund came about. I don't know. It was before my time. Some of you who were here, many of you were here when the Parish Life Center was built. There was a fund established at that point for the future upkeep of that facility, and it is now, I believe, is it 10 years old? Is it? It's older than that. Maybe it's 20 years old. 20 years old, yeah. And there are things that need doing. If you can imagine just the amount of general home maintenance on your home, amplify that by 1,000 percentage points to see what it looks like to maintain a property of this size and the age of our buildings and those sorts of things. Any questions for Richard from his overview of the endowments? I'm going to look here at all of the screens, and if you have a question, I'd be glad to unmute you and let you ask away. I guess yep. A question from Grayson. I'm going to unmute. Yeah.
Well, it sounds good. Richard, it sounds like the principle is still intact. We're making a profit and spending it.
Grayson, I believe you're largely correct. Yes, sir.
We're going to need a notary. He just said I was correct.
Richard, if you were to I don't know, assess the state of our endowment. I mean, given where it is, this parish, do you think is it a healthy endowment? Is it one that could be much stronger? Is it one that's very very appropriate for a parish of this size? What do you? And I guess I'm asking your opinion more than anything.
I think we can always use more.
Sure.
And I want to state that firstly. Some years ago, I spent part of my career assisting in the management of nonprofit endowments. And a lot of those endowments were faith-based churches. Mm-hmm. When I look back to the origin of these dollars and considering some of the challenges that we've seen in the markets, especially in 2008 and 9, qualitatively, I think we're in good shape. When I've seen churches that have $10 or $15 million in endowment, often the origin of that money dates to the 1930s.
Right.
And has had more time to grow than we have at St. John's. None of these monies dates that far back. So I think we're in good shape. I think it's important to look prospectively. As we look to repair some of our existing buildings and to raise money to do that, that some of that money be allocated to endowment dollars to support whatever it is that we decide to do. I would say another thing that's important to remember is many of these endowments are the result of somebody's planned gift.
Correct.
They made a provision in their will, or they decided at a certain point in their life that they wanted to establish an endowment at St. John's. There are other ways that can happen, but the construction of these endowments is not terribly linear. Often it happens because there's a point in someone's life where they decide this is a good idea, or they make an estate provision, and that's when the dollars come in. Right.
Yeah, and that's something that we spoke a little bit about at the last trustees meeting. There are a number of people who love this place dearly, and we need to do a better job of connecting people with estate planning and remembering their parish, and that's something that we will get to in the future. I think about those who have, just for general interest's sake, there was a gentleman here who died, I think in the 1970s, and remembered St. John's in his will and pays his pledge in perpetuity, been dead 30 years. That's a remarkable, 40 years now. That's a remarkable story. And we are a parish that's full of remarkable stories like that. And that's helpful to hear, Richard. Thank you. Any other questions for Richard? We're going to change gears again. I had a good question about the 2020 budget that I want to speak to. Okay, great. I'm gonna pull this down just so everybody's able to look and see those numbers and pull them back. So Leslie asked a question that is a good one. As we look ahead to the 2021 budget, is there room for additional clergy, and what might be our thinking there? And a couple things have been going through my mind. On a personnel side, clergy are the most expensive people to employ. And I look forward to the day that, and I believe, I pray that we will get to the day in this parish where we simply have more going on than capacity from our clergy to manage it. it's coming. If we can keep on track and remain faithful, I think that could happen. Right now, I think we have 2 young clergy who are capable and energized. And my sense is right now, unless I just have a complete misread on it, that the 2 clergy that we have are sufficient. Now, you can always do more, and I look forward to the day that we need more hands on deck in the clergy world. But as we're looking at the 2021 budget, I see some pretty obvious gaps that I would want to address before I talked about adding an additional clergy person. The difference. I'm 37. My associate is younger than that. It's not polite to tell people's age, but I'm older than she is. So to have 2 people really with a lot of energy and passion for the work is something that I think is going to give us a little more punching power than maybe a clergy of 2 people otherwise would have. So let's have that conversation in 2022 or 2023 if we can ever get through this weird time we're in. And I think my hope is that life at St. John's is so compelling that people are going to be attracted to join us here. And when that comes, we'll have to respond. But I think we got it in hand for now. It's a good question, Leslie.
Thank you, Jay.
Absolutely. Does that make sense what I'm saying, Leslie?
Yeah, it makes
Yeah.
perfect sense.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah. So any other questions? We're approaching the back end of our time together, but I did want to share with you just a bit of an overview of what we're going to be doing in the next few weeks. So right now, as you've heard both Joel and Richard mention, we are now in the time of preparation for the coming year and planning our finances accordingly. So we are in a season of stewardship. That's something that we are trying to accomplish earlier. So there are a couple of the vestry leaders of the parish have made a couple of videos that we're launching each week and asking people to pledge online if that's an appropriate way for you to make your pledge. And next week, we are going to send out a stewardship letter and a pledge card and formally make the ask. Look, the reason that the finance and administration exists and the vestry exists is they have good ideas. We were in the FNA meeting the other night. We were talking about mailing this the first week of November, and somebody on the FNA said, have you guys thought about maybe waiting until after the election? And we just honestly hadn't thought about that, but it makes so much more sense to wait and mail something like that after this massive influx of mail. See a question coming in on the chat function. I hope there is some plan for a youth minister. That is exactly what I'm thinking too. We have a wonderful children's minister in Allison Pace, who's doing some really good stuff on the communication side. We have, I think, two vibrant clergy, and we're looking at a big old egg right there in the youth, in the world of youth. And look, those children that Allison are working with, those are going to be youth soon, and we need to fill that gap. That's something that I am aware of every day. When I was called to be rector here, you guys made this beautiful search document, it was a parish profile that you use in your search. And about every 2 or 3 weeks, I pull it down off the shelf and I kind of judge and see where I am in relation to those navigational markers, right? The things that this parish wanted and this parish believed that I could help to produce. I'll never forget the phrase, the parish profile said, we want a little more clink in our piggy bank, right? And also talking about youth. There are things that I will hope to get going. Richard and I are having a conversation about that on in the past few weeks even. So I would like to share, just because they're really wonderful. I would like to share with you Buddy Dearman, our senior warden, his stewardship video, and essentially what we are doing. We're asking our vestry leaders to talk about why they give and what this parish means to them. So, buddies, it's just a short video. Let me pull this up and share it with you guys, so we can take a look at it and maybe have a little discussion around his thoughts. Are you all able to see this all right? Here we go.
Fellow St. John's parishioners, my name is Buddy Dearman, and I have the honor and privilege of serving as your senior warden for 2020, and what a year it has been. I would like to share a few moments of gratitude with you, and then let you know a bit more about our upcoming virtual stewardship campaign. I'm grateful for Father Jay and his leadership in what has been the most unusual first year for a rector. Jay has certainly had to flex his change muscle, and I think he has done a great job leading our parish. I'm grateful that we were able to hire Miranda as a full-time associate rector. I know how much the parish loves Miranda, and to be able to keep her with us full-time was a big win for St. John's. I'm grateful that we have Antoinette Cheney as our full-time parish administrator. She has hit the ground running and is doing an amazing job. I'm grateful for all of our staff. They have had such a great attitude and have shown such great flexibility throughout this pandemic. The camaraderie and cohesiveness in our office has never been better. I'm grateful for our vestry. We've successfully transitioned to Zoom for our vestry meetings and have continued the necessary work of the parish, albeit in a year when it has been very difficult to implement much. But we've been diligent in our meetings and have set a solid foundation around structure, procedure, and the like that will benefit future vestries to come. And finally, I'm grateful for you. Your continued support during this time has been amazing. You've helped us maintain solid financial results compared to our budget. Quite frankly, we really weren't sure what to expect when the pandemic started, but you've all risen to the challenge, and your vestry appreciates all the support that you've given to the church. And so, for Stewardship 2021, we'll be doing things a bit differently this year, and I know that likely doesn't come as a surprise to you. In the coming 10 to 12 weeks, you will hear weekly video messages from a variety of vestry members who will speak to you on why St. John's is important to them and why they support the parish with their time, talent, and treasure. In the meantime, your Finance and Administration Committee, along with the vestry, will be working on our 2021 budget. We will be sharing methods on how to pledge and give here soon. Your continued support with your own time, talent, and treasure will be crucial, perhaps now more than ever before. Finally, I would like to thank you in advance of our 2021 stewardship season. I know that together we'll meet the goals for our parish.
Hey.
Thank you again. I am honored to have had the chance to serve as your senior warden, and I'm excited about our future together. Peace be with you all.
Come around here. So just so you can see, this is Allison Pace. This is one of the, Richard was talking about assets. Allison Pace is an asset. I'm not sure what that is. So don't have a clue what that was. I think that was just accolades for Allison.
Yeah.
That's
Thank you.
That's how we're going to take that.
That was the Holy Spirit chiming in.
It was.
Right?
It was.
All right, I've got that. You're good. All good.
Yeah. Yeah. If you needed an extra cup of coffee, you probably don't now. I'm not sure what that was about. Any feedback, what is that, how does that video, make you feel, as we think about, look, I can tell you that, I share Buddy's gratitude, because it has been a strange time. Look, I've been your rector now for 17 months, and of those 17 months, 8 of those months have been in a pandemic, where we have had to make these massive shifts, and a lot of that has happened because of the staff here and the vestry, who have really joined us, and we're, I think, functioning at a high level, and look forward to even more. Any other observations about that, about our senior warden's video? Okay, great. Well, if I can make it happen so that it doesn't sound like a rock and roll concert again, I want to show you Horace Carter, our junior warden's stewardship video, and I think that will be probably enough information for us today. So let me hop over and show this, and we will wrap it up. So let's hear from Horace Carter.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for clicking on and tuning in. I'm Horace Carter. I'm the junior warden with a brief stewardship message for you today. And I'm going to change it up a little bit and give just my personal perspective on stewardship. So I've been a financial contributor to St. John's for a long time. And several years ago, a friend of mine, not a parishioner, but just a good friend of mine, asked me, why do you give so much money to St. John's as opposed to any number of other worthy causes? And I said, well, it's easy. I'm a believer. And the point being, St. John's is not a club. Sometimes it feels like a club. Got a lot of friends here. When we're not on lockdown, we do a lot of fun stuff. So it can feel like a club, but it's not. This is a place, the place, where we come to acknowledge the greater reality. That's a reality we can't see, obviously, but it's a reality nonetheless. And our giving is a reflection of how important that is to us. And for my part, as I get older, it gets more and more important. Thank you for listening.
All right, I'm going to stop the share and hopefully keep the horns at bay. Yeah, there we go. So you will see a number of these in the next few weeks. There was actually Horace's video was launched just today, and I think it's important to remember. Yes, this is a building that is made of bricks and mortar, and it has electricity and water, and we have to pay for those things. There's no denying that. However, we can use our resources for the greater good and to build the kingdom and to make the sacred presence of God manifest at the corner of Central and Greer. And that's what we are going to do. And I would simply say thank you all for being here. Thank you for calling me to be your rector. It is a great privilege to serve you and to be here. And I know that people are tired of hearing it, but I'm going to keep saying it because I think it's true. I think something special is happening at St. John's. And if we can be attentive and we can stay open to the movement of the Spirit, I am excited to see what will happen in the future here. And that's going to take all of us. It's going to take everyone participating. And look, what does it mean to pledge? Does that mean that you are a cut a check for $100,000? Well, if you have those types of assets, sure. If you are a person who is in a position to pledge $500 and you are watching every penny of that, so that you are able to honor your pledge, come to the table, right? I think that's something that is very important for us to remember. Look, your whatever gift or whatever pledge you might be able to make to this place is a sign of your fidelity to God and to this parish, and we will take that pledge of your investment in this place in whatever capacity it can, you have the ability to do. Finally, I would just say, Joel and Richard, thank you all so much for your time. I appreciate each of you tuning in. We will. One of the things that we have decided to do this vestry, as we are working in a new way. Last January, we got together with Donald Fishburne, who is a consultant, and really I'm honored to call him my friend, and he's a mentor to me. We talked about having town hall meetings and letting people, see behind the curtain, so to speak, about how things happen here. And while so much of what we have been able, or what we have had to do, you saw Joel talk about the PPP loan. We had to move pretty quickly from sort of visioning to survival mode, and it feels like we are maybe getting used to the way things are now, and we will be able to take back some of the more visioning parts of the vestry process. And that's why we offer this, because it's an idea that we talked about last January, and we will continue to do so with other facets of life here. So I hope each of you have a good day. I'm going to go get prepared for worship at 10:30, and I trust that you and yours are well. God bless each of you. And yep, we got one question here. Yes,
Jeff,
Margaret.
can you give us a quick update on Miranda's mother?
Absolutely, and I'll do so at 10:30 as well. So on Thursday morning, I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording this, just for posterity's sake. If you're watching online, thank you for being here.